Make a reservation online at GrootsChris.com or by calling 800-544-0808. Warning aboard the flight, Fred Dreyer's blood sugar is very low, ladies and gentlemen. No telling what's going to be happening on the show. Welcome back to the PM Show Weekend Edition with the one and only Fred Dreyer.
Speaking of blood sugar.
Yes.
You know, mine dropped incredibly when I watched this Union State of the Union speech.
Nice segue.
And I always say...
Nice segue. That was a good segue.
That's good, yeah.
Blood sugar is still not recovered, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it is.
Seriously,
I was, by the time it was over with, I was laying on the floor in front of my TV like my cat used to do. You know, he used to lay down. He'd come into the room, see something's on TV, look at me and look at the television, then run over and then lay upside down, looking at it upside down. That's where I was last night after I looked at the Union speech.
You were upside down looking at this.
Now remember one thing. It's not the State of the Union. It's the Union speech.
It's the Union speech.
Because that's what it was.
It's the Union speech. It wasn't really. It was a campaign address.
Yeah. Well, it was. Here's what the shakedown comes down to.
What happened? Tell me.
My first impression was how in the blazing heck did Barack Obama wind up being our president? I'm standing there listening to this guy use this instrumentation, this incredibly powerful, the titular head of global power, standing up there, a fraud that he is.
In other words, he's the president of the greatest country in the world.
Well, he's the president of
powerful man, the world's most powerful guy. Yeah.
Soon to be just one of another member of the EU.
Of the European Union.
And that's what his goal is. And what is so clear, to me is that beyond the anger and the brainwashed and the lackadaisical stupidity that we have here in America, that suddenly going away from a constitutional republic and listening to the siren, the dance, the song of these reprobates that are trying to get us to sign off on going to socialists movement in this country, a socialist way of life. Wait a minute.
Okay.
A socialist way of life, and giving up our freedom for what? Giving up our freedom for government privileges. There's a big difference between having someone saying you can do something or you can't do something than there is having that person not having any control over you whatsoever because you have a constitution and you're sovereign under God. All of that stuff is on its way out. And I'm watching this guy, and he's a street agitator from Chicago. And suddenly he became president because of an incredible weakness. I believe it was the weight of the big tantrum of the 60s finally incarnating itself in a black man who stepped forward, the handsome guy, speaks well, all those things are true. Here's what else is also true. He is the enemy of the constitutional republic. And how that's being tied in to the speech was the Occupy movement was the beginning of the rollout of this campaign. And last night was the acceleration of the campaign of socialism. He talked about the one element that is necessary to get people's attention. The first step,
everybody being equal.
The first step is to separate people, get people jealous. Allow people, 47% of Americans do not pay federal income tax. That's buying votes. All those people are Democratic. A lot of these people will never climb out of that ditch. And the American way is for people to come out of poverty. And the only way you can come out of poverty is for the government to stand back and allow you to take the opportunities to do so, however you want to do it. And so what you wind up getting, and what we have, is a president who is fostering an elite ruling class system, and And the first step is to separate people. The second step is to get people to understand that they will never do anything unless it's got government. And once you get the working class in America, once you get that 47% that does not pay federal income taxes, once you get the 35 to 36% of the working class that works in federal government, once that gets to 50%, you're finished, because what you're looking at is a revolving elite ruling class. That's the system that they're going for.
But he says it in such a way that it's like, everybody should have the opportunity to have a job, and that it sounds good to say you want to tax the rich people more. What I don't think people realize when you hear that is the other way of looking at things is if you allow people to invest in economy and create stuff, you will have more jobs, more people will be working, raises will be given because the economy starts to grow. And you asked this question a little while ago. You said you don't understand how he got elected. I do. It was the economy was bad, and people saw his message, which was speaking at hope and change, and they believed in it. But now it's 3 years later, and he hasn't done one thing to improve anything. He can say that there's a few more jobs, but he has done a miserable job of changing this economy. He didn't inherit it. He's not responsible for it. He is responsible for making it extremely worse than it ever was. So if someone would vote for him again, I would question that person's vote if they come back and vote for him now, because they've got a track record. I don't want to hear his BS about he's going to do things better in the next 4 years. You've had your 4 years, buddy. What have you done? Let's look at your record. Nothing. You've made it worse.
Well,
that's what I say.
That's true. That's true. I mean, he's trying to tell people 2 and 2 is 5. People caught him and says, no, Barrett, it's 4. But the point is, it's not that he made a mistake. This is purposeful. I said this a long time ago when we first started doing this. This was 6-7 months ago now. And that is, this guy, to me, in my opinion, is that he's as bad an enemy to this country as Muhammad Atta was on the morning of 9/11.
That's a bold statement.
And it's a bold statement because it's purposeful. He is a terrorist. I believe
so you say he purposely is trying.
This is purposeful. What is happening here is he has come out and said, that's why the press covered it up. That's why he wasn't vetted. That's why he got away with being, so we're going to fundamentally change America. And nobody said, well, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, what are you
we can all go back to the very moment, that the 2 cars entered the intersection, and everybody's going to have their own opinion. The fact is, you got a big mess, and it's directly related to the ignorance, stupidity, and the laziness of American people, the guilt-rid 60s sentiment about, black will never be able to play quarterback. A black can't be a CEO. A black can't do this. A black can't do that. Certainly a black can't be the president of the United States. Well, here he is, and now's the time to do it. And by the way, Bush lied. People died. And you know something? I'm just sick and tired of this. I'm never going to be a racist. I'm white. I'm looked at as a racist. And so therefore, I'm not going to fix that tomorrow when I go to vote. I'm going to vote for Barry for president. I don't care what happens. Well, guess what? Now you get to pick the fruit off of that. But
if he would have done what he said, if there was hope and change as he talked about, and if
no,
he would
that
have
was
made,
a lie.
But I know. But if he would have done something to make the economy of the country better, he'd be in better shape to be reelected.
Yeah, if my uncle had cleats, he'd be But you know how. But the saying goes here is that his stuff now is flapping. It's out in the wind. He's being caught. And when we come back, we're going to talk about exactly where he is, what we need to do, and certainly what Romney needs to do, what Mitt Romney needs to do, what he needs to say, and what Newt needs to do and what he needs to say. So when we get back, we'll discuss all that stuff.
PM show, Fred Dreyer on CRN.